A list of privileges that P. Diddy is allowed in jail just got released.
Are they gonna make him suffer?
Judges denied Sean Diddy Combs' request to delay his trial.
A judge did approve Sean Diddy Combs' request to wear non-prison clothing to his trial.
But then there was another juror that came on the stand, or potential juror, and this juror disclosed the information that they actually work at MDC Brooklyn.
The court went dead silent when prosecutors revealed what they found in Diddy's private jail rooms. The judge actually had to stop the proceedings after seeing photos of the space where witnesses claim he held people against their will. What makes these rooms so disturbing isn't just their existence, but what they contain today. We're revealing the exact evidence that shocked the courtroom and why legal experts are calling this the most damaging discovery in the case so far.
The biggest privilege he has is a cellmate.
Do we know who this cellmate is?
Yes. The cellmate is a man named Sam Bankman-Fried. He's in federal prison for stealing billions of dollars via his cryptocurrency company called FTX. While they bunk together, they are both separated from Gen Pop.
But then there was another juror that came on the stand, or potential juror, and this juror disclosed the information that they actually work at MDC Brooklyn. Now, the issue with that is Diddy is currently locked up at MDC Brooklyn. He's been housed there since September.
So he could have got paid off. He could have got promised something, anything.
He could have insider conversations.
Exactly. So the issue with that, the obvious issue with that is what you guys just said. But the bigger problem that the judge had, and he took a minute to scold both sides, the prosecutors and Diddy's team, because he's like, y'all got to do better.
How to get this far? Yeah,
how did he get to the point where he's coming in front of the court and this is being put on record?
Honestly, they are making him suffer.
Poor guy's gonna have to shower by himself.
In terms of clothing, he's allowed one tracksuit and one pair of sneakers. So I'm assuming he switches off between his jail suit and his own personal tracksuit.
Okay, I mean, I get it.
He's not allowed any access to TV or radio, but he is allowed to have a copy of the Bible and one book per week.
Oh, okay. This might be good for him.
Yeah, he needs the Bible. He has access to 300 minutes of phone time per week. That translates to an equivalent of 5 hours per week. I feel like that's a lot of phone time.
Wait, that's a good amount.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of kids, so maybe they factored that in so he could have adequate time speaking to each child. But he's allowed one visitor each day at a specific time, and visits can only last 1 hour. But there's a specific dress code for visitors. No sunglasses or open-toed shoes, no ripped jeans. Also, if a visitor goes to the bathroom in the middle of their meeting, the visit's over. It's done.
They can't leave after that.
Yeah. So no funny business going on.
Yikes. Use the potty before you meet P. Diddy.
No pun intended. Children under the age of 4 must remain on a visitor's lap at all times.
If you think jail visitation is all about talking through glass with a phone, think again. Diddy's visitor log looked more like a VIP guest list for an exclusive party. When prosecutors showed the records in court, people couldn't believe what they were. Seeing the prosecution team marched into court with stacks of visitor logs that showed dozens of unauthorized people meeting with Diddy without going through proper security screening, we're not talking about random fans or distant relatives. These were A-list celebrities, music executives, and business partners who somehow bypassed the strict regulations that normal visitors face. The visitor log included at least 6 major music artists, 3 film producers, and several high-profile business associates. What made this so concerning wasn't just who visited, but the fact that several visitors had direct connections to witnesses. In the case, one visitor had previously dated a key witness. Another was the current business partner of someone set to testify. Against Diddy, security footage from the prison showed these VIP meetings happening in private areas where guards couldn't monitor conversations. While regular inmates meet with visitors in crowded rooms with constant supervision, Diddy was getting private. Sessions in rooms normally reserved for attorney-client meetings. The camera footage showed these visitors bringing in bags and packages that were never properly inspected. The visitor logs themselves were completely falsified. Prison staff had listed celebrities as legal consultants or marked business associates as immediate family members to get around the strict limitations on who can visit inmates. One famous rapper was logged in as Diddy's cousin. A well-known music producer was marked as part of his legal Despite having no law degree or connection to the case, multiple prison staff members cracked under questioning and admitted to taking money for arranging these special visits. One guard confessed to receiving $2.00 per visit to escort celebrities through back entrances and falsify the official records. Another staff member admitted to clearing out certain areas of the facility so Diddy could meet privately with his unauthorized visitors. The most disturbing part, these weren't just social calls. Prosecutors presented evidence showing these visitors were part of Diddy's communication network. They brought messages from outside associates and took instructions back to Diddy's team. Phone records obtained by investigators showed that several visitors contacted witnesses shortly after their meetings with Diddy. One visitor called a key witness 5 times in the hours following a private meeting. The prosecution connected the dots, showing how these unauthorized visitors created a pipeline between Diddy and people connected to the case. Without this network, he would have been isolated like any other inmate. Instead, he maintained a direct line to witnesses through these celebrity messengers who came and went freely. Thanks to bribed prison staff who exactly was on this VIP visitor list. The court records revealed multiple music industry executives, famous recording artists, and business associates who were falsely documented as legal representatives. All these meetings were arranged through prison staff who accepted payments to break protocol and falsify records. But their bombshell wasn't just who visited Diddy. It was what investigators found in his handwritten notes about these meetings. The pages contained information that would change everything about how the court viewed Diddy's time behind bars.
Judges ruled that he would be a threat to intimidate witnesses and victims if released. The 17-page indictment against Combs accuses him of using employees of his business endeavors, including record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits company, a marketing agency, a media company, and television network to facilitate his crimes through acts that included kidnapping, arson, and bribery. If convicted on all charges, which include racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transporting people across state lines to engage in prostitution, Combs faces a possible sentence of decades in prison.
Sean Diddy Combs entered the courtroom in tan prison clothing and hugged an attorney. His mother and one of his sons were there, as well as a man wearing a Free Puff shirt. The judge denied the defense's motion to delay the trial by 2 months. The defense also wanted what the judge called an entire universe of documents related to one of the alleged victims who used to work for Combs. At a hearing Monday, the defense accused prosecutors of cherry-picking emails and chats related to this person, and the defense wanted all of their emails. The government said it didn't have access to all of this person's work emails, likely 200,000 of them. The judge denied the defense's request and told them they needed to point to specific items they believed weren't turned over. The judge also ruled one of the alleged victims will have to turn over drafts of their memoir, but they won't have to turn over financial documents the defense also requested.
Person questioning of prospective jurors began earlier this morning. The judge overseeing this case plans on bringing in at least 50 prospective jurors every day until a jury of 12 people and 6 alternates is formed. Even though dozens of men and women have filed civil lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs, this criminal trial is focused on the accusations of 4 people, including his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura.
When most inmates get locked up, their outside life basically stops. Their businesses suffer, their assets freeze, and they lose control of pretty much everything. But he's been running his empire like he never even left his mansion. The judge couldn't believe what he was seeing when prosecutors showed exactly how Diddy was managing it all. The evidence revealed an elaborate communication system that completely bypassed all prison monitoring. This wasn't just one hidden phone, we're talking about a mini tech center hidden throughout his cell. Guards found 5 unauthorized phones and 3 tablets, carefully hidden in spots that regular searches missed. One phone was built into what looked like a Bible. Another was hidden inside a hollowed-out chest piece. Diddy had transformed ordinary items into secret storage spaces for his communication devices. What really shocked the court was what they found on these devices. Investigators recovered thousands of messages between Diddy and his business associates. They weren't just casual check-ins. These were detailed instructions about company operations, investment decisions, and brand partnerships. One message thread showed Diddy giving specific directions about a new vodka deal worth millions. Another showed him reviewing marketing materials for his clothing line and demanding changes to the campaign. The prosecution showed financial records, proving Diddy had authorized transactions worth over $35 million during his time behind bars. He was moving money between accounts, approving deals and directing investments like he was sitting in a boardroom instead of a jail cell. The court saw evidence of at least 17 major business decisions he made from jail, including selling a property, launching a new product line, and restructuring one of his companies. These weren't regular phones either. The devices contained specialized encrypted messaging apps specifically designed to avoid prison security systems. One automatically deleted messages after they were read. Another disguised business conversations as religious discussions in case anyone checked the phone. The level of planning involved showed this wasn't just a celebrity wanting comfort items. This was a calculated system to maintain control. Court documents revealed Diddy had scheduled regular conference calls disguised as legal consultations to avoid monitoring. While inmates are allowed private conversations with their attorneys, Diddy was using this privilege to hold business meetings. The prosecution played a recording where Diddy can be heard discussing profit margins with his executive team while his attorney silently sat in the room. To make the meeting legal through these hidden phones and encrypted devices smuggled into his cell, Diddy managed to maintain almost complete control of his business empire. He was making financial decisions, directing his companies, and even planning new ventures, all while supposedly being cut off from the outside world like any other inmate. But running his businesses wasn't even the most disturbing thing Diddy was doing with his secret communication network. When investigators dug deeper into the messages, they found something that shocked even the most experienced court officials. Hidden among the business discussions and luxury item requests were communications about the witnesses set to testify against him. These messages show Diddy wasn't just trying to maintain his wealth from behind bars. He was actively working to undermine every case against him by any means necessary.
Yeah, Stephanie, I think the defense is going to look for people who are open to non-traditional lifestyles, who can receive evidence of what defense will sort of style as sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and not get put off and not rush to judgment. On the flip side, the prosecution is going to be looking for folks who are not going to be distracted by, the new shiny object over here, who are not going to get off course by any kind of circus the Diddy team may try to bring into this trial.
So, this has garnered much media attention. How does that factor in when it comes to selecting a jury? Because no doubt most people have heard of what is going on.
Totally. So it presents a significant problem. Here's the thing. The judge wants to find jurors who are fair and impartial and who have not already developed an opinion as to Diddy's guilt or innocence. Well, that's hard when every media outlet in the world has covered this case. They've likely already heard about it. And so what the judge is going to have to do is determine how much exposure the potential jurors have had to this Diddy saga and whether they can put that aside and simply base their verdict on what happens inside that courtroom and not everything that has gone on preceding that.
The hidden communication system wasn't even the most shocking part. When guards conducted that surprise inspection of Diddy's cell, they literally couldn't believe what they were seeing. Most inmates get a metal bed, a small desk, and basic necessities. But Diddy, he was living in what one guard described as a 5-star accommodation. The prosecution showed photos of his cell that left people in the courtroom gasping. While regular inmates sleep on thin mattresses, Diddy had somehow acquired a memory, foam bedding setup with Egyptian cotton sheets, not the standard issue scratchy blankets. We're talking luxury bedding that cost more than what most prison staff make in a week. He had managed to create a space that looked nothing like a prison cell court. Documents revealed he had designer clothing hidden throughout the cell. Not just one or two items, an entire wardrobe of high-end clothes folded neatly in spaces that had been modified to serve as closets. Guards found Balenciaga slippers, custom silk pajamas, and even tailored outfits that matched his court appearances. One guard testified that Diddy never wore the standard prison uniform when in his private cell. The luxury didn't stop at clothing. His cell contained high-end toiletries that violated every facility regulation. We're talking specialized skincare products, designer cologne, and personal grooming items that cost hundreds of dollars per bottle, while other inmates use basic soap provided by the facility. Diddy maintained his celebrity skincare routine without interruption. The food situation was equally shocking. The guards discovered a stash of specialty foods hidden throughout the cell, premium snacks, protein bars, and even prepared meals that had somehow been smuggled past security. One guard testified finding fresh fruit and specialty coffee that isn't available to any other inmate. The cell had essentially become a personal suite with amenities that violated dozens of prison regulations. What really disturbed prison officials wasn't just what they found, it was how these items got there in the first place. The prosecution revealed that at least 7 prison staff members are now under investigation for accepting bribes. Security footage showed guards carrying packages directly to Diddy's cell without inspection. Other employees falsified inventory records to hide the contraband. The money trail was even more shocking. Financial records presented in court showed payments totaling over $50,000 to various prison employees. These payments were disguised as consulting fees or personal loans, but coincided perfectly with deliveries of prohibited items. One guard allegedly received $5,000 just for allowing a designer mattress to be brought into the facility after hours. This wasn't just a few small items slipping through. This was an elaborate bribery network that transformed a standard jail cell into something resembling a luxury hotel suite. The prosecution showed how Diddy had systematically corrupted multiple prison staff members, creating a network of people who would break rules for the right price. But the luxury items ass hawking as they were turned out to be just the beginning. When investigators started examining Diddy's possessions more carefully, they discovered something far more troubling hidden among his designer clothes and specialty foods. Behind the facade of luxury, they found the tools Diddy was allegedly using to run his empire from behind bars and potentially threaten witnesses. In his case,
he's also going to allow in outtakes from a documentary called The Fall of Diddy of potential witnesses in this case. And then a lot of today's discussion today, Lindsay, was about victim anonymity. There are 3 alleged victims who the government wants to testify, and they want them to testify under pseudonyms. The defense has agreed about one of them, known as victim number 2, but the 2 others, they want their names revealed in court. So the judge has now said that those 3 victims will testify anonymously. The other thing that they discussed for quite a while was expert testimony. There are experts that the government and defense want to bring in to speak to what can happen when a victim has allegedly been sexually abused. And the judge thought the key point was that you can't infer just because someone stayed in a relationship or didn't talk about abuse sooner.
No one saw it coming that morning. The prosecutors walked into court carrying a sealed manila folder, and the entire room instantly shifted. This wasn't on the schedule. The defense attorneys exchanged nervous glances as the folder was handed directly to the judge. What happened next shocked everyone present. The prosecutors revealed photos and documents about Diddy's jail cell that weren't just breaking the rules. They completely shattered every protocol for how high-profile inmates are supposed to be housed. This wasn't your typical contraband situation where someone smuggles in a candy bar or magazine. This was something much more calculated. Court officials discovered Diddy had created a hidden area in his cell that regular inspections had completely missed. How did he pull this off? Sources close to the case say he manipulated the layout of standard furnishings, creating a concealed space behind his bed frame that guards didn't check during routine sweeps, and what they found in this hidden space left the judge visibly disturbed. According to the court documents, the hidden area contained clear evidence that Diddy was still trying to control witnesses from behind bars. The prosecutors displayed photos of what they called a makeshift command center, complete with contraband phones carefully wrapped in waterproof materials and stored in hollowed-out personal hygiene products. These weren't just any phones, they were specialized devices specifically chosen to avoid detection from the jail security systems, the most damaging evidence handwritten notes with names of potential witnesses organized into categories. Some names had stars next to them. Others had detailed instructions about exactly what these people should say if questioned. The prosecution highlighted one note that read, "Make sure name redacted understands what happens if the story changes." Another note contained specific dialogue that a witness should use during testimony. Guards who discovered the hidden area testified about finding luxury items no inmate should ever have access to. One guard described finding designer clothes carefully folded and hidden beneath standard prison uniforms. Another mentioned specialty food items that violated commissary restrictions, but these comfort items weren't what concerned officials most. It was the clear evidence of witness tampering that raised alarm bells. The judge seemed physically affected by what he saw. After reviewing the evidence, he immediately called for a 15-minute recess. Courtroom observers noted his face had gone pale. When court resumed, his tone had completely changed, now much more severe. When addressing Diddy's defense team, what specifically shocked the judge, the prosecution, revealed a detailed communication system where Diddy had created lists of witnesses with specific intimidation tactics for each person. Some notes included personal details about witnesses, families' information I shouldn't have been able to access from jail. The system showed a coordinated effort to pressure people into changing their testimony or refusing to cooperate with prosecutors. But this hidden communication center was just the beginning. The prosecution's next revelation proved even more disturbing. How Diddy had somehow transformed Astender jail cell into something entirely different. They showed how beyond the hidden compartment he had managed to create, a space that barely resembled a prison cell at all. The photos displayed next would show exactly how far his special treatment extended.
The judge denied this immediately when we got into court today. What he said to Combs' attorneys is, for one, this request came very last minute. This trial is supposed to start in weeks. We're supposed to begin jury selection soon, and that he thinks that they have sufficient time to prepare. He even made the point, Lindsay, that it's unclear to him why Combs can't prepare when he has 4 different law firms working on his case. A few other things that the judge said today is he's going to allow in drafts of a memoir that was written by one of the victims. However, the defense had also wanted her diaries and bank statements. The judge is not going to allow that.
Surprise inspection. They found something that changed everything about Diddy's case. Hidden between the mattress and bed frame was a black leather notebook that didn't look like standard prison issue. When officers opened it, they immediately knew they had found something serious. This wasn't just any journal. This was evidence that made prosecutors rush straight to the judge. The notebook contained handwritten pages with what prosecutors described as direct threats against people planning to testify. These weren't vague statements either. The threats were specific, detailed, and honestly pretty terrifying. One page listed a female witness with notes about their daily schedule, the school her children attended, and even what time she usually arrived home. Next to this information were the words, "She needs to understand what's at stake here." Prosecutors displayed pages where Diddy had outlined exactly what would happen to witnesses if they didn't change their stories. One note read, "If name redacted takes the stand, remind him about that situation in Miami. He knows what happens to people who talk." Another page contained a list of witnesses with check marks next to some names and question marks next to others, seemingly tracking who could be influenced and who might still testify. The notebook contained information that Diddy shouldn't have been able to access from behind bars. He had addresses, phone numbers, and personal details about witnesses that suggested someone was actively gathering intelligence for him. One page had Thelisense plate numbers of cars belonging to witnesses, family members. Another had the names of their partners, siblings, and even where they worked. Some notes included specific instructions to associates about how to approach witnesses before court dates. Don't call directly. One note read, "Visit in person at the gym on Tuesday. Remind the NDA and what it means if broken." Another page contained a script of sorts outlining exactly what should be said to a particular witness, including mentions of past events that could be used as leverage. The judge was visibly disturbed by messages that named witnesses' children and other family members. One particularly troubling note mentioned a witness's daughter by name, her school, and her after-school activities. Next to this information was a single question. Is this enough to make sure witness name stays, quiet security experts hostified? Said gathering this level of detailed information would require an organized network of people actively watching these individuals. The prosecutors argued these notes proved Diddy was orchestrating a campaign of witness intimidation directly from his cell. They showed how information flowed from his outside contacts through his VIP visitors and ultimately into his strategic planning in the notebook. This wasn't just prison contraband. This was evidence of actively trying to obstruct justice. When the judge saw these threatening messages, the entire case shifted. He immediately ordered Diddy Toby moved to a special housing unit with 24-hour surveillance. All his privileges were revoked. No more visitors except his direct legal team. No more private phone calls. And no more special treatment of any kind. The prosecution also filed additional charges of witness tampering and obstruction of justice that could add decades to his sentence if convicted. The discovery of these threatening messages didn't just change the conditions of Diddy's confinement, it transformed the entire case against him into something much more serious. What started as charges about his personal conduct now included allegations of running a criminal operation from inside prison walls. What started as a standard celebrity case has transformed into something far more serious. After discovering the hidden communication center and threatening messages the judge ordered, Diddy moved to a maximum security unit with constant surveillance. No more luxury items, no more special visitors, no more privacy of any kind. Prosecutors have already filed new charges for witness tampering and obstruction that could add 30 years to his sentence if convicted. They're also investigating everyone who helped him create this elaborate system. From behind bars, legal experts are now calling this one of the most closely watched cases they've ever seen. The jail room secrets have changed everything about how Thistria will play.